The evacuation alarms screamed through every corridor of the Yilnar research station. But Commander Rilith knew they were already too late. Her people had spent 3 generations building this outpost in the neutral zone, and now it would fall in less than an hour. Through the observation window, she watched the Grethik swarm tear through their defense satellites like insects devouring leaves. Commander, the colony's ships report critical life support failures, her communications officer reported, his voice trembling. They have maybe 2 hours of air left. Rilith looked at the tactical display. 3 massive vessels hung in orbit, each carrying 15,000 civilians. Children, elders, scientists who had never seen war. The Grethik bioships surrounded them like predators circling wounded prey. Send distress calls on all frequencies, Rilith ordered. Every channel, every language, every species within 10 systems. Her science officer hesitated. Commander, the nearest Quarian fleet is 6 days away. The Selkath won't intervene in neutral space conflicts. No one can reach us in time. Then we die asking for help rather than die silent, Rilith said firmly. The message went out in 47 languages, a desperate plea from a peaceful species that had never harmed anyone. Rilith watched the communication logs as nearby civilizations received the signal. One by one, they marked the Yilnar system as a loss and moved on. It was practical, she understood. Why sacrifice ships for a system already doomed? 3 systems away, Rita Owens was finishing her shift rotation at Mining Station 47 when the distress call crackled through her communications array. She was Chief Operations Officer for a human mining colony, responsible for ore processing and logistics. The signal was weak, garbled, but the desperation cut through every language barrier. Rita played it again. The Yilnar voice begged for rescue, described civilians trapped with failing life support, spoke of a species that had never known war facing an enemy that knew nothing but consumption. She grabbed her communicator. This is Rita Owens to any UEF vessels in range. We have a code black distress signal from the Yilnar system, requesting immediate military response. The reply came from Captain David Ross aboard the destroyer Relentless. This is Ross. We copy your transmission. Send us the coordinates. Captain, the system is outside our jurisdiction, Rita warned. Galactic law says this isn't our problem. David's response was immediate. Galactic law can go to hell, send the coordinates. How many civilians? 45,000, mostly in colony ships with failing systems. There was a pause. Rita heard voices in the background, David consulting his crew. Then he came back on. We're 3 systems out. If we push our jump drives past safety limits, we can be there in 90 minutes. Captain, the regulations. I'm putting it to a vote, David interrupted. Rita heard him address his crew over the ship's intercom. We have civilians dying 3 systems over. The book says we stay out of it. I'm asking what you say. Rita listened to the silence, then heard the crew's response. It wasn't a cheer or a shout. It was something quieter, more determined. Unanimous agreement without hesitation. David came back on the line. Tell those Yilnar people help is coming, Relentless out. Rita immediately began coordinating. She sent updates to the Yilnar system, rallied the mining colony's ship crews, and prepared emergency supplies. Other species calculated odds and withdrew. Humans heard a cry for help and ran toward it. Aboard the Relentless, David addressed his crew properly. Listen up. We're going into a combat situation against an unknown enemy to rescue people we've never met. Our ship is designed for this. Your bodies are designed for this. Earth made us tough for a reason. Lieutenant Amy Park ran tactical simulations at her station. The Grethik swarm showed a hive mind structure, overwhelming enemies through numbers. Her combat computer analyzed every recorded encounter with the species. Humans had never fought them before, but humans had fought everything at some point. Captain, their tactics rely on swarming individual targets, Amy reported. They expect enemies to break formation and scatter. Then we do the opposite, David said. We go right through the center. Chief Engineer Robert Hayes monitored the jump drives. "Captain, we're pushing these engines 40% over recommended limits. We'll make it there, but I can't guarantee we'll make it back." "One problem at a time, Rob," David replied. The Relentless shuddered as it entered jump space. The crew felt the strain as artificial gravity struggled to compensate for the acceleration. This was a warship built by a species that had fought itself for 10,000 years before reaching the stars. Every system had redundancies, every weapon had been tested in actual combat, every crew member trained under conditions that would kill most galactic citizens. In the Yilnar system, Rilith watched her sensor displays. The Grethik swarm had stopped toying with their defenses and begun the final approach. Bioships the size of buildings moved toward the colony vessels with deliberate hunger. "Commander, we're receiving a response to our distress call," her communications officer said, surprise evident in his voice. "Who responded?" Rilith asked. "They identify as United Earth Fleet vessel Relentless. They say they're inbound." Rilith pulled up what little data they had on humans, a relatively new species to galactic civilization originating from a high-gravity world with extreme environmental conditions. They had been spacefaring for less than 2 centuries. One ship. They're sending one ship. Should I tell them the situation is hopeless? Rilith thought about her people in those colony ships, about the children who would never grow up, about a civilization about to be erased. No, thank them for coming. The Grethik swarm advanced. Rilith prepared for the end, and somewhere in jump space, a human warship pushed its engines past breaking point to reach strangers in time. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you threatened people under human protection. Even accidentally, space tore open like fabric as the Relentless dropped from jump speed directly into chaos. David's tactical screen lit up with hundreds of hostile contacts. The Grethik bioships looked like massive insects, all chitin plates and pulsing organic weapons. "All hands to battle stations," David ordered calmly. "Amy, give me firing solutions on the nearest cluster." Rilith watched her sensors as the human vessel appeared. It was small compared to the Grethik swarm ships, sleek where they were bulbous, metal where they were living tissue. She opened a channel. "Human vessel, you must retreat. One ship cannot." "Ma'am, with respect, we didn't come here to run," David interrupted. "Get your people ready for evacuation. We're buying you time." The Relentless powered up weapons that made Rilith's science officer gasp. "Commander, those energy signatures. They're using kinetic accelerators." "Kinetic weapons," Rilith repeated, "but those are primitive." She watched as the human ship fired. Tungsten rods accelerated to a fraction of light speed struck a Grethik bioship. The impact was devastating. The organic vessel simply disintegrated, unable to withstand the raw kinetic force. Other species had moved to elegant energy weapons millennia ago. Humans still threw metal at their enemies, just faster than physics should allow. "Target destroyed," Amy reported. "Acquiring next hostile." The Grethik swarm reacted. 20 bioships changed course toward the Relentless. They moved with hive coordination, attempting to surround the single human vessel. David smiled grimly. "They're bunching up, exactly what we wanted." He turned to his weapons officer. "Launch the package." The Relentless released a spread of missiles. The Grethik attempted to intercept them with bioplasma, but the missiles were too fast, too numerous. They detonated in sequence. Nuclear fire blossomed in the void. Rilith's sensors went white. What was that? Her science officer checked readings with shaking hands. "Fusion weapons. The humans just used fusion weapons. Commander, those have been banned by the Galactic Convention for 3,000 years. "Humans never signed that convention," Rilith whispered, watching 6 Grethik bioships vaporize in the atomic fires. The swarm recoiled, then pressed forward with renewed aggression. The Grethik had consumed 100 worlds. They would not be deterred by a single species, but they had never encountered a species that treated war as science. Inside the Relentless, alarms blared as Grethik weapons struck the hull. Bioacid splashed across the forward shields, eating through layers of armor. David felt the ship shudder. Damage report. Hull breaches on Deck 4, Robert called from engineering. Sealing bulkheads were holding together. Amy coordinated point defense as Grethik boarding tendrils lashed toward the hull. Automated guns shredded the organic appendages before they could latch on. "Captain, they're trying to board us." "Let them try," David said. "Route power from secondary systems to weapons were not done yet." The Relentless maneuvered with a grace that defied its size. David pushed the ship through patterns that would have killed crews of other species. 9 gravity turns that human bodies could barely survive became tactical advantages. The Grethik expected prey that maneuvered cautiously. Instead, they faced predators who had evolved hunting megafauna across African plains. Rilith watched in amazement as the human ship executed maneuvers her computer said were impossible. How are their crew members surviving those accelerations? Humans evolved on a high-gravity world, her science officer explained. Their cardiovascular systems, their skeletal structure, everything about them is built for stress that would kill us. Another wave of Grethik bioships closed in. The Relentless was surrounded. Rilith prepared to witness the human ship's destruction. Then her sensors detected new jump signatures. 3 vessels emerged from jump space. They were crude, industrial, mining haulers converted for combat. Rita's voice came over the open channel. "Relentless, this is Mining Convoy Alpha. Heard you could use some backup." David actually laughed. "Rita, you beautiful maniac, what are you doing here?" "Figured you military types shouldn't have all the fun," Rita replied. Her 3 haulers positioned themselves between the Grethik mothership and the Yilnar colony vessels. "We've got the civilians covered. You take care of the swarm." The mothership, a massive bioconstruct that dwarfed even the colony ships, accelerated toward Rita's position. It intended to crush the mining vessels and consume the Yilnar civilians in one move. The Grethik had used this tactic successfully for centuries. They had never used it against humans. Rita's lead hauler opened fire with industrial cutting lasers. The beams, designed to slice through asteroids, carved deep wounds into the mothership's organic armor. "Francis, give them hell with the mining charges." Francis Reed, piloting the second hauler, launched explosive charges meant for breaking up space rocks. They detonated against the mothership's hull with satisfying violence. The bioconstruct shuddered but kept coming. "It's too big," Francis said. "We can't stop it with what we have." Rita checked her scanners. The mothership would reach the colony vessels in 3 minutes. Her people couldn't win this fight with firepower. But humans had never relied solely on firepower. They relied on courage. "All haulers prepare for ramming speed," Rita ordered. "Rita, no," David called from the Relentless. "You focus on the swarm, Captain," Rita said calmly. "We've got this." Francis understood immediately. He set his hauler on collision course with the mothership's propulsion organs. "It's been an honor, boss." "Eject before impact, you idiot," Rita snapped. "We're buying time, not committing suicide." Francis grinned and locked his course. His hauler, built to survive asteroid collisions, struck the mothership like a hammer. He ejected seconds before his fusion reactor breached. The explosion crippled the bioconstruct's ability to maneuver. The Grethik mothership drifted, wounded. Rita's remaining haulers pulled Francis's escape pod to safety while maintaining defensive positions around the colony ships. The Yilnar civilians would live. David watched the mining crew's desperate gambit succeed. "That's humanity right there," he said quietly. Amy looked up from tactical. "Captain, the swarm is regrouping. They're adapting to our tactics." "Then we adapt faster," David replied. "That's what we do best." The battle raged on. Across the galaxy, Captain Lorne of the Draenor trade vessel watched the battle unfold from the edge of the Yilnar system. His species had maintained strict neutrality for 5,000 years, observing conflicts without intervention. But this was unprecedented. Record everything, Lorne ordered his crew. The Galactic Council must see this. His sensors showed a single human warship holding against a Grethik swarm that had consumed entire civilizations. Showed civilian miners fighting a mothership with industrial equipment. Showed a species that calculated acceptable risk in ways that defied all known psychology. In the Yilnar research station, Rilith coordinated the evacuation. Move the children to the colony ships first, elders next, able-bodied adults last. Commander, the humans are sharing their tactical data with us, her communications officer reported. They're showing us how to reinforce our ship's core sections. Rilith examined the human combat doctrine. Every specification assumed the ship might become a battlefield, that life support might fail, that crew might need to survive in vacuum. Humans didn't build for ideal conditions, they built for catastrophe. Implement their recommendations, she ordered. Route all power to core life support and structural integrity. The Relentless shuddered under another Grethik assault. David's ship was taking damage faster than repairs could manage. Hull breaches on multiple decks, fires in secondary systems, casualties mounting, but the crew never faltered. In the medical bay, Dr. Ann Foster worked on the wounded while the deck tilted from combat maneuvers. "Hold him steady," she told her assistant as another explosion rocked the ship. She continued surgery without pausing. Human medicine had been practiced in war zones for millennia. "Captain, we've got a problem," Robert called from engineering. "The jump drives are damaged. We can make one more jump maybe, but after that we're stuck here." David absorbed this information. One jump meant a choice, escape or commit fully. Acknowledged, keep them ready, we might need a quick exit. Amy's tactical station sparked from an electrical fire. She ignored it. "Captain, I've analyzed the swarm's coordination patterns. All bioships are linked through quantum communication to the mothership." "So if we kill the mothership," David began. "The swarm loses cohesion," Amy finished. "But it's protected by the entire remaining swarm. We'd have to go through all of them." David studied his tactical display. The Grethik had adapted to human weapons, spreading out to minimize damage from area attacks, using kamikaze tactics to drain the Relentless's ammunition. They were learning, but humans had been fighting learning enemies since the first tribe faced the second. "Get me a firing solution on the mothership's quantum relay," David ordered. "We're going for decapitation." New jump signatures appeared on sensors. Rilith's science officer shouted, "More human vessels incoming." 5 human warships dropped from jump space, destroyers and frigates, all bearing the scars of quick deployment. Commander Patricia Lewis of the destroyer Thunderchild hailed David immediately. "Ross, you started without us," Patricia said. "Just keeping them warm for you, Pat," David replied. "What took you so long?" "Had to petition UEF Command for emergency deployment authorization," Patricia explained. "They granted it about 30 seconds after we stopped asking and just went anyway." David smiled. The human fleet now numbered 6 warships against thousands of Grethik bioships. By any rational calculation, they were still hopelessly outnumbered. Rationality had never been humanity's strong suit. "Here's the plan," David broadcast to all human vessels. "We punch a corridor through the swarm. Rita's people get the civilians clear. Relentless makes a run at the mothership." "That's suicide," Patricia said flatly. "That's Tuesday," David replied. "You in?" "Wouldn't." "Miss it," Patricia said. "Thunderchild moving to formation." The human fleet arranged itself into a battle line, a tactic from ancient naval warfare adapted for space combat. 6 ships, overlapping fields of fire, coordinated targeting. The Grethik swarm had never faced enemies who fought as a unified force. Rilith watched the humans prepare their assault. "They're insane. They cannot possibly win." Her science officer hesitated. "Commander, I've been analyzing their combat patterns. They're not trying to win. They're trying to save us. Victory is secondary to protecting the civilians." Rilith felt something shift in her understanding. Other species fought to win, to conquer, to defend territory. Humans fought for strangers, fought for principles, fought because someone needed help. "Open a channel to the human fleet," she ordered. David's face appeared on her screen. Exhaustion evident, blood from a minor cut on his forehead, but his eyes were steady. "Captain Ross, you must withdraw," Rilith said. "We are grateful, but we cannot ask you to die for us." David smiled gently. "Ma'am, you didn't ask, we chose. Every species deserves a chance to survive. Now please get your people to safety and let us do our job." The channel closed. Rilith realized she was crying. Her people had sent a distress signal to everyone. Humanity had been the only species to answer. "All personnel continue evacuation procedures," she ordered, her voice firm. "These humans are buying us time with their lives. We will not waste it." The human fleet began its assault. Patricia's Thunderchild led the formation, railguns hammering the Grethik bioships with mechanical precision. The other human vessels followed, creating a corridor of destruction through the swarm. Rita's mining haulers moved immediately, guiding the colony ships through the gap. Industrial tractor beams pushed the massive civilian vessels. Mining charges cleared debris. Welding lasers sealed hull breaches on the fly. The miners worked with practiced efficiency. The Relentless held position at the edge of the corridor, providing covering fire. David watched the civilians evacuate, 45,000 lives moving to safety. This was why humans fought. This was the point of everything. "Captain, the corridor is closing," Amy reported. "The swarm is adapting. We have maybe 5 minutes before they cut us off." David made his decision. All ships maintain the corridor until the last civilian is clear. Relentless will engage the mothership. "David, wait for support," Patricia called. "No time," David replied. "If we wait, the civilians die. That's not acceptable." He addressed his crew one final time. "Anyone who wants to evacuate, do it now. No judgment." No one moved. "Then let's finish this," David said. The Relentless turned toward the mothership and accelerated. The Relentless cut through the Grethik swarm like a blade through flesh. David had committed to the attack run with full knowledge he might not return. The destroyer's engines screamed past safety limits, burning at 140% capacity. "All power to forward shields," David ordered. "Ram anything that gets in our way." The bioships tried to form a wall. The Relentless smashed through them. Human engineering met organic armor and won through sheer momentum and violence. Smaller Grethik vessels shattered against the destroyer's reinforced prow. Inside the ship, crew members worked through injuries. Amy calculated firing solutions with one arm in a makeshift sling. Robert rerouted power while standing in ankle-deep coolant from a ruptured line. Anne performed emergency surgery in a medical bay that had lost artificial gravity. "Hull integrity at 40%, Robert reported, his voice strained. "Captain, if we take many more hits, we'll break apart." "We don't need to survive," David said quietly. "We just need to reach the target. How long can you keep the engines running?" Robert checked his displays, mathematics and engineering and desperation. "Give me 5 minutes. After that, no promises." "5 minutes is all we need," David replied. The mothership filled the view screen. It was massive, a bioconstruct the size of a small moon, pulsing with organic weapons and quantum communication nodes. It had coordinated the consumption of 100 civilizations. Today it would die. Grethik bioships swarmed the Relentless from all sides. Bioplasma burned through armor. Acid ate through hull plating. Electromagnetic pulses scrambled systems. The destroyer was dying, bleeding atmosphere and fuel and crew. "Captain, evacuation pods?" Amy suggested. "Negative," David said. "We're finishing this." He thought about Earth, about green forests and blue oceans, about a planet that had tried to kill humanity for millions of years and created the most stubborn species in the galaxy. Humans had learned to survive. More importantly, they had learned that survival alone was not enough. The Relentless entered extreme close range with the mothership. bioweapons that could vaporize smaller vessels fired at point-blank range. Human countermeasures strained to keep pace. "Quantum relay located," Amy announced. "It's deep in the core, 50 meters of organic matter protecting it." David looked at Robert on the engineering display. "Can we penetrate that deep with conventional weapons?" "Not a chance," Robert replied. Then he smiled. "But if we ram it, our fusion reactors will do the job." David nodded slowly, ramming speed, the oldest human naval tactic adapted for space. "All non-essential personnel to escape pods, that's an order." Captain Amy began. "Now, Lieutenant," David said firmly. "Anyone who can't operate essential ship functions, evacuate immediately." Half the crew reluctantly moved to escape pods. The other half remained at their stations. These were the people who kept the guns firing, the engines running, the life support functioning. They stayed because leaving meant their shipmates would die alone. Anne appeared on David's screen from the medical bay. "I'm staying. You'll need a doctor when this is over. And there won't be an after if this goes wrong." "Then I'll die helping," Anne said simply. The channel closed. David felt pride and sorrow in equal measure. This was humanity distilled, people who chose to help even when helping meant sacrifice. "All remaining crew brace for impact," David announced. "Rob, give me everything the engines have left." "Aye, Captain." Robert's hands flew across his controls. "Routing all auxiliary power to main drives, you'll have your speed." The Relentless accelerated toward the mothership's core. Gretic bioships threw themselves at the human vessel in suicidal attempts to stop the attack. They damaged the destroyer further but couldn't slow it. From the edge of the system, Captain Lorne watched in awe. "They're going to ram it. They're actually going to ram a vessel 1,000 times their size." His first officer whispered, "What kind of species does this?" "The kind the galaxy has never seen before," Lorne replied. Patricia's fleet held the corridor open. The last Yilnar civilian ship cleared the combat zone. Rita's haulers shepherded the colony vessels to safe distance. 45,000 lives saved. The mission was already a success. But David wasn't done. The Relentless struck the mothership like a spear through flesh. The destroyer's reinforced prow punched through layer after layer of organic armor. Momentum carried the dying ship deep into the bioconstruct's interior. Inside the Relentless, the crew experienced impacts that should have killed them. Human biology, engineered by Earth's harsh gravity and violent history, kept them conscious. Amy stayed at tactical, Robert at engineering, and in medical, David at command. "Fire everything," David ordered. "Every weapon, every explosive, everything we have left." The destroyer's remaining arsenal fired simultaneously. Missiles, railgun rounds, plasma charges, nuclear warheads, all launched from inside the mothership's core. The quantum relay, protected by organic matter but not designed to withstand internal explosions, shattered. Across the battlefield, thousands of Gretic bioships suddenly went silent. The hive mind coordination collapsed. Individual organisms, confused and directionless, drifted without purpose. Some fled. Others simply powered down. The swarm died not with violence but with sudden, complete disconnection. Patricia watched her tactical display. "The swarm is breaking apart. They did it. They actually did it." Rita's voice came over the channel. "What's the status of the Relentless?" Patricia checked sensors. The mothership was dying, collapsing in on itself. Somewhere inside that organic mass, a human ship was trapped. "I don't know. I'm reading massive structural failure in the mothership." "Then we get them out," Rita said. "All haulers converge on the mothership, bring cutting equipment." The miners moved immediately. They had tools designed to slice apart asteroids. Organic matter would be easier. Patricia's fleet provided cover as Rita's people began cutting into the dying bioconstruct. It took 4 hours to reach the Relentless. The destroyer was wedged deep in dead tissue, its hull breached in dozens of places, engines cold, life support failing. But when the miners cut through to the bridge, they found David still in his command chair. About time you showed up, David said weakly. We were starting to think you forgot about us. Behind him, Amy lay unconscious at her station. Robert was dead at engineering, his hands still on the controls. Anne was in the medical bay, still treating wounded. Despite her own injuries, Rita's team extracted the survivors. 23 crew members had stayed. 14 survived. They had saved 45,000 civilians. The galaxy watched the recordings, and everything changed. 6 months after the Battle of Yilnar, David stood in the UEF hospital on Earth's orbital station and watched the blue planet turn below. His injuries had healed mostly, the physical ones at least. The memories of crew members who hadn't made it still woke him at night. Admiral Christine Wallace entered the recovery room. Captain Ross, or should I say Commander Ross, you've been promoted. David turned from the window. I don't feel like I deserve promotion. We lost 11 good people. You saved 45,000 civilians and changed galactic politics forever, Christine replied. The Yilnar have petitioned to join a defensive alliance with humanity. So have 6 other species. Peaceful civilizations that watched your fight and realized they didn't have to face extinction alone anymore. What about the aggressive species? David asked. Christine smiled grimly. They're recalculating their expansion plans. Turns out no one wants to fight Deathworlders who protect their neighbors. She handed David a data pad. Captain Lorne's recordings have been viewed by every major civilization. They're calling it the Yilnar Incident, calling humanity the protector species. Some are calling you specifically the Guardian of the Void. David grimaced. I hate that title. Get used to it, Christine said. You're famous. The Quarian Accord wants to establish formal diplomatic relations. The Selkath Collective is offering technology exchanges. Everyone wants to understand what makes humans willing to die for strangers. 3 weeks later, David attended a memorial service for the relentless crew who had fallen. Representatives from 19 species attended. Rilith spoke on behalf of the Yilnar people. These humans taught the galaxy that strength without compassion is tyranny, but compassion without strength is helpless. They showed us what it means to truly help others. She gestured to a monument being constructed in orbit. This memorial will remind 45,000 Yilnar and their descendants that humans answered a call not meant for them. After the ceremony, David found Rita. She had refused all military commendations, insisting she and her miners had only done what anyone should do. How are your people? David asked. Francis is back flying haulers. Says his new prosthetic arm works better than his original. Rita smiled. The rest of the crew are getting marriage proposals from grateful Yilnar. Apparently, saving someone's life is considered a strong basis for courtship in their culture. David laughed. What about you? Rita's expression turned serious. We showed them who we are. Now we have to live up to it. The galaxy is watching us, expecting us to be heroes every time someone needs help. We never asked to be heroes, David said. No, but we couldn't be anything else, Rita replied. That's the problem with being human. We see someone suffering and we have to help. It's not about glory or recognition. It's just who we are. 8 months after Yilnar, David took command of a new vessel, the UEF Dauntless, a heavy cruiser built with lessons learned from the battle. More armor, redundant systems, weapons designed specifically for fighting hive mind species. His new crew included Amy, promoted to executive officer. Her arm had healed. Anne served as chief medical officer. Francis had joined as a civilian consultant, teaching military crews mining techniques that doubled as combat tactics. The Dauntless patrolled the border regions where peaceful species bordered aggressive ones. Within weeks, they encountered their first crisis. A distress call from the Pelian Unity, a species of aquatic beings whose colony had been attacked by raiders. Amy brought the message to David. Captain, we're receiving an SOS. The Pelians are asking specifically for human assistance. David smiled. Set course, maximum speed. Let's show them what the galaxy's protectors can do. The Dauntless jumped to the crisis. The raider fleet retreated before engaging. The mere presence of a human warship was enough to end the conflict. Word had spread. Attacking someone under human protection meant facing Earth's fury. Over the following months, similar incidents occurred throughout known space. Pirates abandoned attacks when human ships appeared. Aggressive species backed down from border disputes when humans mediated. The protected coalition grew to include 23 peaceful species. But not everyone appreciated humanity's role. The Krathic Empire, a militaristic civilization that had conquered 12 systems, viewed human intervention as a threat to their expansion. Ambassador Grell of the Krathic addressed the Galactic Council. Humans claim to protect the weak, but they enforce their own order through violence. They are no different than any conqueror. Patricia, now Admiral Lewis, responded. The difference is simple. We fight to protect, not to conquer. We leave when the threat is gone. We ask nothing in return. Show me one system we've occupied, one species we've subjugated. You can't because it doesn't exist. The debate continued, but the results spoke clearly. Species under human protection thrived. Their populations grew. Their cultures flourished. Humans asked for nothing except the opportunity to help. 2 years after Yilnar, David received a message from Rilith. The Yilnar had established a university dedicated to studying human culture, trying to understand what made humans unique. They had a question. Captain Ross, we've studied human history, your wars, your conflicts, your violence. But we've also seen your compassion, your art, your love. How can one species contain such contradictions? David thought carefully before responding. We're capable of great violence because our world demanded it. Earth tried to kill us for millions of years, but we're capable of great compassion because we survived together. Every human alive is descended from ancestors who cooperated, who helped each other, who chose community over isolation. We fight because we must. We protect because we can. We care because we're human. The message satisfied Rilith, but David knew it was incomplete. Humanity was still figuring out what it meant to be the galaxy's protectors. The Dauntless received another distress signal. A mining colony under attack, civilians threatened, desperate people calling for help. David didn't hesitate. Set course full speed. Amy smiled. They're learning to call us first now. Good, David replied. That's exactly what we want. The galaxy should know. You send an SOS, humans answer always. The ship jumped to hyperspace. Across the galaxy, other human vessels did the same, responding to calls for help, protecting the vulnerable, standing between civilians and extinction. The age of humanity as galactic protectors had truly begun, not through conquest or domination, but through a simple principle that defined the species. Someone needed help, humans would answer. Every single time.